Somewhere in a government file, there is a number that says what your life is worth. It sounds like something a car company worked out on its own. It did not. The number was $200,000, and it was the government that put it there. Ford was only using a figure Washington had already published, $200,725 for one death. And it was not writing about the Pinto, which is the part almost everyone gets wrong. In 1973, it sent Washington a cost-benefit analysis of a proposed rule on fuel leakage, covering 12.5 million cars and 1.5 million light trucks. Fixing one of them cost $11. Across all of them, $137 million. On the other side of the page went the cost of doing nothing, 180 burned deaths plus the injuries and the burned-out cars came to $49.5 million. Now hold those two numbers next to each other. Saving the people cost 3 times more than letting them burn. So the paper argued against saving them. That is the part everyone knows. What the courts did with it is worse. The memo became public in 1977, and the cars became a scandal. In February 1978, a California jury heard what had happened to a woman named Lily Gray, who died, and a boy named Richard Grimshaw, who did not. The jury awarded him $2.5 million for his injuries and then added $125 million in punishment. The judge reduced the punishment to $3.5 million. 97% of it disappeared in a single ruling, and the reduced figure was upheld on appeal, which also affirmed that Ford had acted with malice. Then came the part that had never happened before. In Indiana, a grand jury indicted Ford on 3 counts of reckless homicide over 3 young women in a burning Pinto. It was the first time an American car maker stood in a criminal court over people who died in one of its cars. The trial ran 10 weeks. In March 1980, Ford was acquitted. The strange part is not that Ford got out. It is what happened to the companies that did not. In November 2018, a power line owned by Pacific Gas and Electric started a fire in Northern California. It burned the town of Paradise off the map. 84 people died. The company did not fight it. It pleaded guilty to 84 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count for each person. It is almost unheard of for a corporation to plead guilty to manslaughter at all. The fine for each of those 84 deaths was $10,000. With the fire count and court fees, the total came to $3,486,950. Divided by the debt, that is $41,511 a person. And this was not leniency. $10,000 was the maximum the law allowed per count. The judge could not have ordered more. If that is what a maximum looks like, it is worth asking what the negotiated number looks like. General Motors built cars with an ignition switch that could slip out of the run position while the car was moving. When it slipped, the engine died and the airbags stopped working. The replacement part cost 57 cents. The defect has been linked to 124 deaths. In 2015, the company agreed to forfeit $900 million, and the prosecution was deferred. That means the charges are dismissed entirely if the company behaves for 3 years. No individual was charged with anything. The investigation the company commissioned itself concluded that no employee had made an explicit trade-off between safety and cost. It also found that engineers had been trained not to write the words dangerous, defect, or safety when describing a problem. Ford's mistake in the end was writing the number down. The next company wrote nothing down at all and bought its way out of a courtroom twice. 2 Boeing 737 MAX aircraft crashed 5 months apart. 346 people died. Boeing agreed to pay over $2.5 billion, and it was reported everywhere exactly like that, as one number. Split it, and it stops being one number. $1.77 billion went to the airlines that had bought the planes. $500 million went to a fund for the families. The airlines received more than 3 times what the debt did. Then the Justice Department said Boeing had broken the agreement. A company that had escaped prosecution by promising to behave had not behaved. Instead of a trial, it signed a second deal and paid over $1 billion again. $444.5 million of that went to the families of the dead. $455 million went to pay a compliance consultant. The consultant was paid more than the 346 families, and the pattern underneath all three is not about which company was worst. Put the three next to each other and the price of a human death reads like this: $41,000 at pg&e. At Boeing, once the compensation is taken out and only the punishment is left, $700,000, $7.2 million at General Motors. The company that killed the fewest people paid the least per person, and it is also the only one that pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Nothing in that order comes from how bad the conduct was. It comes from two things that have nothing to do with the dead. The first is whatever cap the statute happened to write down decades ago for that kind of offense. The second is who was sitting on the other side of the negotiation. Because there's one thing a court cannot do to a company. It cannot put it in a cell. There's nobody to imprison. So the punishment has to be converted into money. And money is negotiable in a way that a prison sentence is not. The fine is then paid by the shareholders who did not design the switch, did not write the memo, and did not sign off on the aircraft. The people who did are not usually on the indictment. The Ford memo is remembered as the moment a corporation put a price on a human life. That is not quite what it was. It was the moment one did it on a single sheet of paper in a way that could be photocopied and handed to a jury. The number has been calculated in every case since: 41,000, 700,000, 7.2 million. The price did not disappear. Only the place where it is written changed. It is written in a settlement now, and both sides sign it.